they're talking in Moscow, and Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has said he wants a ceasefire in Idlib, where Russia and Turkey back opposite sides. In recent fighting between the Turkish and Syrian armed forces, hundreds of soldiers have reportedly been killed and thousands of civilians have fled to the border with Turkey. Joining me now, our Turkey correspondent Jasper Mortimer. He's in Ankara. Jasper, what is President Erdogan hoping to achieve at these talks in Moscow?
He wants more than a ceasefire. He basically wants Russia to agree to the setting up of a safe zone in Idlib, a zone that will be off limits to Syrian government troops, where Syrian opposition supporters, like the refugees in that clip, can live in peace, and they won't have to flee across the border to Turkey. Now, Putin has always maintained that Syrian President Bashar Assad has the right to control all of Syria, including Idlib. Now, whether Putin will, in the talks taking place as we speak, step back from the position depends on how much the Turkish army has managed to hurt the Syrian government army in the past 5 weeks. The Turkish Defense Ministry says that in the recent fighting, it has killed 3,000 Syrian soldiers. It's destroyed 3 Syrian warplanes, more than 130 tanks, and so on. The figures don't really count. What matters is whether Turkish military successes have hurt Bashar Assad, so that last night he phoned Putin and said to him, listen, give Erdogan what he wants, just get him to stop. If, on the other hand, Assad can manage to absorb the losses inflicted by Turkey, then Erdogan will fly back from Moscow with very little.
Jasper, what do Turks think of the fighting in Idlib?
Well, Turkey's lost 56 soldiers in this recent fighting and a couple of drones. But casualty tolls, even low tolls, are much more alarming for President Erdogan than for Assad. Turkey, for all its flaws, still has the rudiments of democracy. Erdogan faces a critical press. He has an opposition in parliament. He faces elections that produce surprises. Assad has none of those things. On Tuesday, the taxi drivers of Istanbul got together and drove in convoy, blaring horns and waving Turkish flags to salute the 34 Turkish soldiers who were killed on Thursday last week. A poll taken before that killing showed that half of Turks were opposed to the Turkish army's presence in Idlib. A poll taken immediately after that showed that 65% of Turks wanted the Turkish army to continue its operation in Idlib. And I think these two polls reflect the two sides of Turkish opinion. One is patriotic, nationalistic, rallying behind the flag. The other is asking serious questions. Erdogan said the other day, I'll read you the quote, "Those who ask what business does Turkey have in Syria are recommending that we surrender to terrorist groups and an enemy regime." Now, the interesting thing is he asked that question. He knows that Turks are saying, what the hell are we doing in Idlib? A political scientist has said, that if the death toll rises, support for the current operation will fall and the government will find itself in difficulties. And I think that's right.